So today is the day, right? I think it's the final January 6th hearing. Today they're going to focus on what Trump was doing in the time, from the speech to the attack. What was he doing exactly? I'm pretty sure we're going to find out that he was derelict in his duty. They already leaked some stuff talking about, his close allies saying that he was basically watching TV in the residence. But here's what I want to talk about, or I want to focus on. I want to discuss how a significant portion of this country isn't going to care one bit about what is said and what is revealed. No matter how bad it looks for Trump, there's a certain segment who are as addicted in a cult-like fashion to Donald Trump as the Trump derangement syndrome folks are against him, and the Biden derangement folks are against Biden. Right? These people all have the same level of sickness. So, no matter what we reveal about Trump, there's going to be folks who are going to instead focus on Adam Kinzinger leaking the footage. He shouldn't have leaked the footage. It's theatrics. Why did he leak it? These leaks are problematic. Oh, leaks. Right? He's a traitor. Then they're going to focus on, but what about those cops that let some of the protesters in? They're not even going to recognize that there were a ton of cops and military who were part of the riot. Right? They were involved in the riot. Right? But they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to recognize that. They're just going to try to focus on everything else but the uncomfortable stuff. Right? Wouldn't the thing that you'd want to know the most is, what was the President of the United States, the person that you would vote for again, what was he doing while our Capitol was under attack? Wouldn't you want to know that? Of course, that's a conflict of interest if you support the attack but pretend like you don't. Oh, I condemn the violence. The violence is wrong, I always said I condemn the violence. I never posted anything on social media like I post when Black Lives Matter does stuff. But I definitely condemn the violence, and I'm definitely being 100% genuine. I'm not being totally fake at all, right? This is not fake outrage. What are you thinking? Right? Right. So, the idea that a president of the United States could be completely derelict in his duty, right? Do nothing to stop a brutal attack on our Capitol, which to any conservative should be highly offensive. More bothered by that than BLM burning random cities. I mean, if you love the country, you don't want to see any of it burn, but especially the Capitol. I mean, the place where Lincoln himself once stood. I mean, if you really, really are super patriotic and, you respect the founding fathers and what this country stands for and the freedom that this country has, and it's the greatest country on earth, but yet people spitting on your Capitol, man, there was one guy there who was Black Lives Matter. This situation reveals all the fakes. A lot of fakes have been revealed in 2022. The fakes on the left who talk about other fakes on the left but prove themselves to also be fakes, who didn't fight for Build Back Better, who aren't fighting right now, who aren't in the streets about abortion or anything, right? They're just on YouTube making content, right? They're gonna sit back, let the Republicans take power, and let this country go in a complete opposite direction of what they claim to want. And they're just gonna bend over and take it up the ass, right? But the other fakes are the ones who like to talk about patriotism and they love this country and want to tell other people they don't love the country, but yet an attack on our capital is only a bother to you whenever it's brought up to you, whenever you're called out on it. You say, well, I condemned it, right? Not a single post on your social media on January 6th or any day after saying, this was a disgrace. I mean, you get some of those big right-wing commentators on Fox that try to do a little something, but a lot of the independents and just regular Joe Schmo people, nothing to say. They are frauds, just like the people they talk about on the left. It's not about left or right or conservative or liberal. It's an American sickness, regardless of where your politics lies, because I think a big part of it is because our media is so toxic. So your thought process, your emotions are being guided by greedy opportunists on YouTube and otherwise, other platforms, who keep ginning you up against an other. Oh, those racists, others, or those radical socialists, right? These people, social media in this country is like poison. It's like a disease. And a lot of Americans are inflicted with this disease, and they don't even know it. Too busy being mad at their perceived enemies as presented to them by their partisan propaganda media to recognize their own infliction. Tribalism. Tribalism derived by toxic partisan propaganda media, especially independent, who basically take the corporate media model and crank it up to 100, right? So that's what we're gonna see today, right? We're gonna see more evidence of how incapable this guy was, and yet folks who claim to love this country, rather than focus on replacing him with somebody who's about something, somebody who wouldn't have been sitting watching TV all day, somebody who spends more time focused on serving the American people than trying to get likes on Twitter, rather than focusing on that, they're gonna, what about the guys who let them in, right? Adam Kinzinger leaked the video. He's the president. He's not a general or a police officer. Hey, what do you expect him to do? You want him to go and break up the riots himself? He's monitoring what's happening on TV. How else you gonna monitor it, right? That's what a commander-in-chief does. He monitors the situation. And where are you gonna monitor it? On TV! The January 6 hearings are one of the most dangerous things to this country. And the reason for that is you got the folks on the left who are all caught up, not the real far left folks, but the liberals are all caught up in, ooh, they're gonna get him. Trump is going to prison. And then you got people thinking that the Democrats are gonna do something. They're finally fighting back. Here's the reality. They are doing a great job. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's about holding anybody accountable. It's not about a noble cause. I'm sure some people have that perspective, but in general, that's not what it's about. And regardless, at the end of the day, I don't think they're really going to do much. It's always the little guys, right? Who's in prison? Who's being tried right now? The regular people. Now, I don't mean to diminish the people who really, messed up and assaulted these cops and everything. But it's the people on the bottom, right? The people who fan the flames and help finance it, and most, if not all, will walk scot-free. I'm sure there are going to be some charges, something like that. But overall, the message is going to be sent. Like, however this plays out, the message is going to be sent that if you can get behind a charismatic enough leader who can control the emotions of a base, whether it's a liberal base or conservative base, you can pretty much get away with whatever you want. Because at the end of the day, as long as you can keep half the country in a bubble, it's going to paralyze the other half from doing much, right? This is where our government is set up. Bipartisan, right? So as long as you can keep half the country in an emotional bubble, which Trump has proven that you can do that very effectively, and it can be very long lasting, then you can save yourself from accountability, because that half of the country will stay in that bubble believing that you are righteous and you did the right thing, and you're simply being persecuted, right? So therefore, their politicians will not be motivated to hold anyone accountable. So therefore, when the other side tries to do something or pretends to, they're going to be blocked by not having enough votes, because half the country is in a bubble, whether it's a liberal bubble or conservative bubble. And again, that will keep the politicians from having to join in a bipartisan effort to hold someone accountable. So therefore, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you've got that charismatic leader to basically brainwash the public. Liberals or conservatives alike, both are just about, I don't want to say equally gullible, but let's just say they're gullible for sure. So Americans are generally easy to control. Ironically, even the people who are the most like anti-establishment, whatever, and they got their guns, all being controlled, right? They're all serving their purpose, and doing these hearings and not really holding the powerful accountable is going to be opening the door to making January 6th look like a joke. All the people who talk about they're afraid of our country becoming socialist and all this kind of stuff, they are the ones who are most actively helping open the door for this country to truly be destroyed. Because whether you're socialist or conservative or whatever it is, fascist, right now we're seeing that you can get get away with doing some really, really bad things, right? So this country is up for grabs. If they don't hold the powerful accountable, which I'm pretty much sure they're not going to, they are creating an invitation for some really evil, powerful people to one day, again, make all the stuff we've seen so far, make it all seem like a joke. You guys are going to want to go back to 2016, 2017, whatever time is scariest for you right now in your lifetime. You're going to want to go back to those days. A country where there's no accountability, where the powerful can get away with doing what happened on January 6th with no major accountability from the powerful, is a country, I almost said company, that might be more accurate, is a country that is up for grabs. How does that fit in with your patriotism? How does that fit in with your love of country and, you know, your feelings about how wonderful our founding fathers were and the amazing thing that they built? I don't know why I made a wrong turn into a cemetery, but I guess the topic of this video. Well, I'll end with the cemetery behind me. Unplug. Partisan media is leading you guys off a cliff. Whether you're liberal, you're a leftist, you're conservative, the people that you listen to, that you're listening to, don't have your best interest in mind. They're making that money. That's what they're here for. They'll say anything that will get them the most money. And what gets them the most money is content that leads our country off the cliff. All the while raving and ranting about how the other side is doing it. Wake up.